All right. I got bad. Somehow I was in alignment with our unified field, and then I wasn't after I didn't post what would have been the second video. Okay, now this is happening. Nah, these are mixed signals. I mean, these are. I thought I would say it again, like to see if that would be. I don't want. I don't. I mean, it's getting intense in our thing. Do you want me to say that again? And just say it better? I mean, you're banging and it's mixed up. Try it again if that prevents the bad from happening. Right. Assuming not everyone knows everything. Another dimension or something to note, if you don't know, when we mentioned that what's actually happening is that a group of corporations who have people with a certain type of religious view at the top are going to the Supreme Court over the contraception part of the coverage for contraception in the healthcare bill. We mentioned the danger of it, but there's something more obvious that, like, it's as though you're saying, like, no, not everyone knows that. Okay, and the way in which they're bringing it is that corporations are saying that their rights as a corporate person are being violated because a corporation wasn't always like this, is a legal person. It's an entity that's a person, and it can bring something to the Supreme Court. In this case, it's as though they're saying their rights as an individual person are being, their religious rights as a corporate person are being violated by having to cover contraception. This would also be a time to say, well, they go over these things very fast on our media system and jump to something else. But the issue to notice is why is this what they can, that's unfamiliar. Like, how can corporations bring something like this to the Supreme Court? They're bringing it saying their religious rights as a corporate person are being violated. With corporations, sometime around the time of the Industrial Revolution, corporate lawyers brought a 14th Amendment case arguing that corporations aren't actually a person, a corporate person with all the rights of persons. Of course, in the case of corporations, that means like incredibly vast rights, like way beyond what a normal person is supposed to have. But that's the way in which they're approaching the Supreme Court. And if people don't know that it wasn't always like this, this is something that started in the 1800s when they gained corporate personhood. And it's worth knowing, something that narrator remembered because it struck me as a good way to put it, but it also tells you the founders were very frightened of this kind of thing happening. Corporations did not have legal personhood yet prior to the Industrial Revolution. But Thomas Jefferson, one of our founders, gave a speech at the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence in which he spoke about his fears that this could happen, and then eventually it did. And now you see the consequences. They operate in the courts like a person. What he said is he didn't get to see like the actual birth of modern industrial capitalism. He like spinning in his grave. He saw it, but he saw the beginnings of it when corporations were simply there for if they had it was meant to be a public service. A group can form a corporation, and they had a limited right to operate. They had a charter. Okay, it wasn't like it is now. They weren't a corporate person. The line in his speech that he gave at the anniversary of the Declaration of Independence. This is shortly before Thomas Jefferson. You're having me switch the channel. I don't know what you want. I don't want to be out of step with our unified field, but I keep giving you that information in case it's not well known or something. But I don't want to be out of step with the field. He said if this happens, that his greatest fear was that corporations would become personified and made permanent, that they'd be given all the rights of a person. That's what he was concerned about. And he said if this turns out to be the case, it'll be the end of democracy and freedom. He said then the few will be riding and ruling over the plundered plowmen and the beggared yeomanry. And he said he stood with those who, as he put it, do not think that individuals were born with saddles on their backs and a favored few booted, spurred, and ready to ride them. And then after his death, that's something the founders were actually worried about as it was happening. It's good to know the way in which corporations are approaching our Supreme Court to realize they weren't always a person, and this is the kind of thing they can do. That's the best we're going to do. That's our third try, and this is the best they can do for you, Unified Field.